Somebody here. All right, y'all. Welcome to the 1018 Service Podcast. It's 1901, June 17. Headquarters Show Me 108. Tonight, my guest will be none other than the BJJ Cup. Okay. Also known as, he's known as Lieutenant Jason Rebsch, but, most of the people in Jiu-Jitsu world, know the BJJ Cup. Jason has been in law enforcement for 24 plus years, He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and instructor under Brian Marvin, which is Cariquinha, huh?
Yeah, he goes by Cariquinha. I haven't heard him use that in a while, but yeah, that's him.
Got you. Of Renzo Gracie Houston, Jason is currently a lieutenant with his department and oversees the CAD Patrol and Training Division, which is great. Jason has trained Jiu-Jitsu for 13 years and has competed at all levels. Jason is also a creator of BJJ Cup, whose goal is to encourage police officers to begin training Jiu-Jitsu by demonstrating the effectiveness of Jiu-Jitsu in law enforcement. And Jason is also a co-founder of the new movement, Invictus movement, which we're going to be talking about that in a little bit, Jason. But the reason that I asked you to be here with me today, man, Jason, I just want to see and just, pick up your brain about the current status of law enforcement. What do you think is going on in law enforcement right now, and how can we make it better? What's your opinion on that?
Well, first, I think we need to identify the problem, if there's a problem. I think there's a lot of misinformation that's being pushed out there by media and politicians, local as well as national politicians. The problem, as I see it, is, and this comes through just a lot of years of being a police officer, and what I've observed, it's lack of training.
Ooh.
Officers are not properly trained in defensive tactics and driving tactics and shooting tactics. These are just things that are put on the back burner and are more like afterthoughts for most departments. When it comes to training, the priority for most departments is to get the mandatory stuff done, which is typically more liability type issues, which is pushed by state legislatures and what they think we need to be learning. And it's almost always the stuff that's the least important and the least dealt with that we do on the street. The most important stuff is not pushed. Now, what we're starting to see with these last incident, people are recognizing that the officers need a lot more training. Now, sort of. I think people are starting to recognize that. I think right now you have this weird defund police department thing going on, and this anti-police movement has spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
It is very confusing to me. I don't understand it at all. Like, I'm completely baffled that people I know they have jumped on this anti-police bandwagon and believe that there's just this nationwide trend of officers abusing their power and shooting unarmed people and all this stuff. It's like that's not happening at all. At least it's very rare when it does happen, and it's weird to see it being spread like that. But as someone who's a police officer, it's training. Training's the number one issue. We have to train officers in what they deal with day to day on the street. It can't be an afterthought.
Man, that's a really good point whenever you talk about training, and you broke it down as far as like what kind of training you're talking about, because mainly whenever training comes out of the mouth of a defensive tactic instructor, people automatically think, okay, he's talking about defensive tactics, physical training. But you talk about driving, you talk about, classroom, and not just focus on the mandatory training, which is what most of the departments are doing right now. And that's a really good point. I appreciate you sharing that. So why do you think most officers are getting in trouble right now when it comes to use of force?
Well, I think so we have something that, and I don't know who coined the phrase, but we push it at our seminar, at Invictus seminars, and when we teach, is that the ineffective use of force has the appearance of excessive force. And sometimes it is excessive force, because when you don't have any tools, when you don't know how to properly control a person's body or a person's movement, or how to, gain physical control of a person. All you have is your fifth grade schoolyard tactics, which is to try to beat somebody up till they give up, right?
Yeah.
So it looks terrible, and it is terrible. That should not be what we resort to. There are times when strikes are necessary. There are times when you're in a really big fight, and yeah, you're going to have to strike somebody. But we should be capable of dealing with resistant subjects who are not striking at us, who are simply trying to get away, or which is the majority of the time, right? It's just someone trying to get away from us. They're not even trying to fight us so much. Maybe just fight us a little bit just to get away. You should be able to control that person and physically get them under control without having to use, any type of force that could be deemed excessive or at least appear excessive. So, yeah, I think what happens is because officers are just untrained, they resort to what they know, and that's punching somebody till they give up, which, maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that was what people did.
Yeah.
But we're living in a different time, and we have
Different
skills
time.
and techniques. We have JiuJitsu, we have grappling, we have a lot of things that we can teach guys that are much more effective ways that and protect me and protect the subject I'm trying to arrest without anybody getting hurt more than is necessary, if at all. So it's kind of my opinion on that.
That's a good point. And so how do we improve that? Because in my personal opinion, the system is failing us as an officers, because we the ones who, are being shown on TV when somebody else did not give me an opportunity to succeed. You and I, different cases. You train because you believe in training. You go and jiu-jitsu, CrossFit, lifting weights. I do the same because that's who I am. But not everybody's built with the same mentality as us. And departments are not actually forcing us or helping officers to, at least, I'm not talking about we need to spend 20 hours in the gym, but, more training, So I think the system is failing us as far as that. So how can we improve that whenever it comes to, administration,
Well, I think there's a couple issues here. One is the mindset of officers, and I've said this before. Whether you realized it or not, when you became a police officer, you took on a warrior's profession. This is not a profession to come in, work your 8 hours, and get your benefits and go home. If you want to do that, find an office job. We're not an office job. This is a job where people's lives count on us, people's welfare, people's needs count, their physical needs count on our ability to respond appropriately and protect if necessary. So you're in a warrior's profession. So your mindset has to be that way. So as far as administration goes, our hiring should be based on people with that mindset that are going to come in, that are going to do the extra work, that are going to, yes, they're going to do, there's physical fitness standards have to be set, defensive tactics standards have to be set, shooting standards have to be set. These are all things that need to be, and they have to come from the administration. They have to set that level, that bar, so that when we hire people, they have to meet those standards, and it's a struggle because administration is looking at, and I'm on that side of the ledger now. Administration has a budget, right? And you fight every year for your budget. You're fighting other departments and other divisions. You're fighting all these other departments in your city or your county for the same money in the same pot. And you're trying to justify why you need X amount of money. So you get limited amount of money and you have to meet all these different requirements. You have to meet your other training requirements, your uniform requirements, your officer pay, benefits, vehicle repairs. So as an administrator, you have to divide, you have to make priority, right? The priority, of course, is going to be people on the street, operational vehicles, people responding to calls. That's your number one thing. You got to have that. Then everything else starts to be, okay, now we need to outfit the officer with the proper training, right? But this always is kind of an afterthought. And so it's important right now for administrators to understand. And I think they're getting it right now because of all the media.
Yeah.
So administrators are looking at like, oh my God, what do we do to cover ourselves? Because I think that's what the number one thing is going to be. Is administrators are going to be concerned with how do they cover themselves to say they did what they could to make their officers, perform safely on the street, not hurt anybody, right?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be where the majority of these guys are coming from. But yeah, you got to get administrators to recognize, hey, this is a priority. The defensive tactics and physical fitness is important, and you got to set standards, and you got to stick by those standards. You have to. In the long run, it's going to make us better. It's going to make the public trust us more.
Yeah.
It's going to make our arrests safer. It'll have a positive effect. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time for that to trickle down and make its way through all the departments. But guys have got to set standards. We have to.
Yeah, and it's really sad when somebody has to lose their lives. I'm not just talking about George Floyd. I'm talking about like a lot of officers lately have been losing their lives. It's really sad to see, how many lives we have lost for administration to realize, hey, we need to do something. When we have people that have been talking about this issue, like we need more training, we need more education, and nothing has been done. It's, it really sucks when we have to deal with that, And do you think jiu-jitsu will be the answer for the use of force for our current situation in law enforcement?
I think it's a answer.
It's
not the only answer. You should always be well-rounded. You need to understand striking. You need to understand what it feels like to get punched in the face. A lot of cops come into police work, and the first time they ever get punched in the face is either in the academy, if they even have an academy that does that,
yeah, or
worst case scenario on the street. And that's not the time you want it to be your first time, right?
No, sir.
But yeah, you need to have a well-rounded background. I think jiu-jitsu should be the base because the majority of what we do is grapple people on the street. Majority arrests someone who resists, you're grappling them to the ground and controlling them and getting them under control so you can cuff them. The fisticuffs, that happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen as often. It's just the regular run-of-the-mill guy trying to get away from you where you got to control them and physically get them under control and get them to submit to you so that you can get them cuffed. So, yeah, is jiu-jitsu the answer? I mean, if I had to pick one thing, yeah I would say jiu-jitsu 100% because it covers the most area and it's the most effective. But I would say that I don't want it to just be jiu-jitsu. I want it to be, you'll be well-rounded. So, in my defensive tactics program, I'm building my guys up. And one of the things that I'll add into grappling once they get up to a little bit better level, of course, is going to be the striking aspect of it, understanding how to punch block, understanding how to respond to strikes, how to eat a strike, and the openings that it provides you when you're trying to grapple somebody. So these are all things I try to incorporate. But yeah, jiu-jitsu should be the base. So
cool.
A little bit of my classes right there, huh?
Yeah, that's one of your classes. But I just wonder,
this is one of my defensive tactics.
Yeah, and me as a defensive tactics instructor, and how often do you do this kind of training?
So it started a little slower at first, and it was like once every couple of months I was getting allowed to train the guys, not just our department but other departments.
Nice.
And now my chief has gotten it to where we're doing it every week. In fact, today we did defensive tactics. Every Wednesday we train defensive tactics, and it's not. I have to rotate shifts through, so you don't get to go every week, but you're getting in there and you're learning at least once every 3 weeks. And that's something, and I'll tell you, the guys are showing improvement from where I started them.
Yeah.
Like today, I've seen a huge jump in just the basic fundamental stuff. And I was really impressed with the guys today. They did a great job. And actually last week too, I can see the progression in just that amount of training. Like it's huge. They're understanding basic ways to get up. They're understanding they've got a couple takedowns in their pocket, which they're hitting accurately. And I mean, it's been impressive. I've been really excited and happy about it. The program's going very well, and I'm excited to be able to continue to add more techniques and keep pushing them. And the feedback's been really good too. They appreciate we do I make sure they do live training every time because I think there's nothing like experiencing that live training on a regular basis. I mean, you know this, if you train jiu-jitsu, it kind of numbs you to the aspect of going physical with somebody. It inoculates you to what it feels like to go physical. So when it happens on the street, it's not foreign to you. You're like, okay, I've been here before. I know what to do. I know what to do in this situation. I know how to get this guy to the ground. It's not a foreign concept to you. Where if you never do it, then when it happens, your adrenaline spikes through the roof and you get into that freeze mode and you're not sure what to do because you haven't trained anything. So It's been good. It's been actually, I've really enjoyed it. And of course, I think something else I think I like about it is, and we know this through jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of bonding.
Yes.
It goes on when you grapple with people in jiu-jitsu. You kind of develop these friendships, through this interaction, this intimate interaction with each other. And now with the guys training with me and training with each other and having to grapple with each other and with me, it actually builds that bond even stronger, which I think could have a very positive effect on the street when they're handling calls together and doing stuff. So it's a morale booster, and as well as also making my guys safer.
Better, and that's really good point, because one thing that jiu-jitsu does, not just jiu-jitsu, but like any combat sports, it humbles you, And in a profession like law enforcement, where there's a certain amount of ego in the officers, because we have the badge, sometimes we may know, I know more than the civilians. So practicing jiu-jitsu or any other combat sports, it just humbles you and lets you know that, man, this is a different game. So, and being able to practice at least, once or twice a week is great. But in reality, most of the officers will not be able to practice much as you and I do. You know what I mean? I used to work 12-hour shifts and still go put like 2 hours training with no problem. I was okay with that. But not everybody's built like me, or not everybody has the same mentality. And I have to understand that. But in order for them to actually, grasp the concept, they have to do more than 8 hours or 20 hours a week. How ridiculous is that? Not 20 hours a week. But, most of the department, they do 20 hours of DT a year.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
That's actually, honestly, it's best case scenario.
Yeah, that is best case scenario. You're
best
right.
Case scenario.
You're
Most
right.
departments do none.
Yeah, because you can get away with 8 hours, and
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is that, because most departments, to be honest, I don't do anything, or very, very, or 4 hours maybe a year, or 8 hours a year, just to check the box. And it's ineffective stuff they're teaching as well. They may be teaching PPCT or teaching, Krav Maga or something that 8 hours a week, 8 hours a year. They're not learning anything. They're just checking off a box and saying they did the training.
That they did the training.
And part of the stuff that I hope is happening with my guys, I hope it eventually will happen, is it'll convince them as they get more comfortable doing this training to go sign up at an academy. And I don't care what academy they sign up at.
Yeah.
Mine, anybody's. I don't care. Just go sign up and train 2-3 times a week on top of what you're doing with me. And it's going to have such a huge impact on your physical fitness, on your mental fitness, and your safety on the street, and your partner's safety on the street. Like, the benefits are just out for police officers are huge. And I'd like everybody to see that. And again, not everybody has the same mindset, but I just think you have a responsibility to everybody you work with and the people you serve to even if you're not crazy about it, to do it anyway, just because you have to be prepared as part of your job.
Yeah, and it starts with a mindset, having the warrior's mentality. And the new executive order from the president, have you checked that out yet?
I haven't looked at all of it. The only thing I saw, I haven't read it. I'll be honest, I've been very frustrated with everything that's occurring right now.
Likewise.
I hate that we're being looked at as though we're the problem.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. This is so much deeper than that. And it's not that officers are the problem. But the one thing that he did, and was such a knee-jerk, ignorant thing that I saw put out, was no chokeholds.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a lack of understanding, and that's ignorance to put that in writing. That nationwide, no chokeholds unless it's used as a deadly force option. And that to me is so ridiculous. I mean, because as someone who trains jiu-jitsu, that probably one of the most effective ways to get somebody under control is to use a rear naked choke. I've done it before it was banned. I've done it under serious situations to get people under control, and it works beautifully. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody goes home. Well, I go home. He goes to jail, and eventually he gets to go home. But at least he didn't get hurt in the process. It's a very effective technique. Again, what do we need? We didn't need it to be banned. We needed better training. We needed officers to be trained properly in the use of it so it's used effectively. But instead, we get the knee-jerk reaction, well, nationwide is banned. So now we're back to the 70s when it got banned by all these departments. It's going to take 30 more years before it comes back around and officers are allowed to use it again. Or 20, I don't know. But it's ridiculous. And especially with the level of training we have available to us now and the knowledge we have of chokes, like every officer should be trained in how to properly apply a rear naked choke. It's not difficult. It's not a hard thing to learn. And just train in it, be certified in it, and have regular training. No problem. How often do we choke each other? How often do you do a rear naked choke on somebody or have someone do a rear naked choke on you while you're training? All the time, constantly. I've never seen someone die on the mat. Not one time. I've been training 13 years. I haven't seen anybody die on the mat, and I haven't heard of anybody dying on the mat because they got rear naked choked or triangle choked or cross collar choked or you name the choke. I have not heard of this happening in a jiu-jitsu gym.
Yeah, but
maybe it has, but I haven't heard of it. So all
me
these
neither.
Hundreds of thousands of incidents in jiu-jitsu gyms where people are being choked, no one dies, but we're going to ban chokeholds because some idiot in Minnesota what he did had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. He was just a moron that leaned on that guy's neck and was probably, in my opinion, so incompetent and ignorant of what he was doing, didn't even know he was killing the guy. Just thought he was just being a callous piece of shit while leaning on his neck. He didn't think he was killing the guy. That's why he sat there like it was no big deal. That was not jiu-jitsu. That was just an asshole. And that guy doesn't, I guarantee you he doesn't know jiu-jitsu. I guarantee he's probably never stepped on a mat.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, man. And
it's very frustrating.
It is frustrating, and I'm with you on that because this policy that we have, this executive order in regards of chokeholds, is not knowing, and it's sad because in a day and age like the one that we're living in, they should be able to do a research and be like, okay, what is a chokehold? Can we train our officers to properly apply? You know, but now we just be like, oh, no chokeholds, just ban that, and that's just fear because they don't know and they not even taking the time to ask people, the experts, you know, and that's what's frustrating as well for me.
You know what's so frustrating is we were making good progress with the rear naked choke or vascular neck restraint, whatever you want to call it. A lot of departments were using it. Departments in Texas were using it. They had certification programs. It was absolutely being used, and it was being used effectively with no problems. There's been a couple bad hits. I think one in Vegas, a guy didn't do it properly and something happened. But there's a lot of departments that were allowing the use of vascular neck restraints with no issues.
Yeah.
And then you get a guy in Minnesota who puts his knee on a guy's neck, and now that's considered a choke. That's not a chokehold. He's got to lean in on a guy's neck for 9 minutes or whatever it was until he died.
Yeah.
Because he's an idiot. And there's other issues there too, because the guy had a lot of drugs in his system. And there's a lot of issues involved with that.
Of course.
The Minnesota officer's responsible. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues involved with that. It should not have taken out, rear naked chokes or vascular neck restraints as an option to handle a subject. Tasers are more dangerous. Tasers killed over 1,000 people a year. When we're using them as officers. Over 1,000. We're not banning tasers, are we? Heck no, we're not banning tasers. How many people have died from a rear naked choke? I want to know the numbers of how many people have died from a rear naked choke in law enforcement. I guarantee you, I bet you in total of all the years of law enforcement, from the first constables in 1680 or whatever it was to today, it's probably less than 100, if that. It's so ridiculous to me. It's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I agree with you. And so this just like a piece of the executive order that I was able to get it, but it is politics, you know. And just talking about, just seeing some of the stuff that is on executive order, I'm like, it doesn't take to lose somebody's life or lives, police officers dying, other people dying, for them to come in place or put an executive order like this. Background should be done, a thorough background, make sure that the people that we are hiring are actually people who want to be there. You know what I mean? That's not something, psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health, you know what I mean? Are we talking about that in law enforcement? Yes, no, maybe, I mean, if before a department hires anybody else, there's a background that needs to be done. You know what I mean? If a department sees that, like, man, this guy has been in, excessive use of force a few times, we should probably, conduct a very total background on this person instead of be like, oh man, we just got like a 2-man department. Let's hire because we need people.
Yeah.
It doesn't take all of this mess that just happened for us to come up with an executive order telling us that we're going to start doing that. The department should have been doing that,
There's a lot of things, yeah, but there's some ridiculous things here too. Like,
yeah,
incentivize departments to bring on experts in mental health, addiction, and homelessness as co-responders. So now the officer on the street not only has to deal with the call, but now he's got to protect some unarmed civilian who probably doesn't know what they're doing as far as law enforcement. How many calls do you go to that are not what they are?
Man.
If you get a call to some, especially mental health calls, but how many calls do you go to? They're not what they come across as. You get there, and it's something totally different.
Yeah.
You just came across dispatch wrong, or they said some information, they lied to dispatch about getting officers out there, and you got a totally different situation out there than what you thought you were going to. So now I'm dealing with the civilian who's there. And Lord help us if the civilian decides, hey, I'm going to interfere with what the officer's doing because I don't like it. Yeah. And I don't think he should be doing that. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? The amount of issues that they're putting on. Okay, and then how a department's going to pay for this?
Yeah.
How a department's going to pay? We struggle to pay for the officers we have.
Yeah.
Right? To maintain that. Now they got to bring on a team of mental health experts that are going to respond with officers. Who's paying them? What level of mental health expert are these people? Because if they're a high level mental health expert, they ain't making what we make an hour.
Yeah.
They're making a lot more. You're paid, so now you're going to pay somebody $75 an hour, $100 an hour to work with officers, because that's what therapists and if you want to get up to a shrink level, you're talking $300 an hour. Yeah. Who's paying them? Do you see? You know what I'm saying? Like
it is ridiculous.
And you and I know there's nothing they can do with a situation like that.
Yeah.
That's stuff that we do, and we actually handle very well. Police officers handle these situations very well on a regular basis. We've had a lot of training in CIT and mental health stuff, and it's been effective. I've had some good training in CIT that's been very effective for me when I work in the street and dealing with people that have mental health issues. We've actually become very effective with dealing with that. We've come a long way because we used to not be very good at it. But when we were provided with the proper training, then we became pretty effective at it. So a lot of this stuff's just knee-jerk stuff, just stuff thrown in by politicians, people who've never worked the street.
Never worked the streets. And that's my frustration, Jay. That is my big frustration because, we put in people against people, but the politician is the one making all these executive orders, all these rules, and we the one are paying for it because we the ones on the streets with a uniform on.
I tell you, I've been so frustrated watching the news. I almost stopped watching the news because I see people who typically I agree with politically coming on and saying things like, oh, well, we banned chokeholds. That's a good thing. No, it's not. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think it was good. This executive order was outstanding because it's going to provide these mental health responders. You don't know what you're talking about. Why are you pushing that like it's a good thing when you literally have no knowledge or experience in what you're speaking of? Drives me nuts. Yeah. Drives me nuts. Why don't you bring police officers who've done the job for a long time in to consult with and say, how can we be more effective? Because you know what they'd say? Pay them more to train more. Train them better. Send them to these schools. Provide them with these trainers. They don't want to hear that. They want some perfect answer like, well, we're going to put a mental health person with this guy and they're going to solve the problem, with their shrink psychology, at a domestic disturbance involving a mental health person. You and I know it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't.
But and that's my question right now, Jay. How do we as an officer, how can they hear our voices instead of a politician's voice? How can they?
I don't know.
Because I'm frustrated. You know, I can't even comment anymore because any comment that
Well, we're
Facebook,
the enemy
Instagram
right
is not
now. So
enough.
anything, we're the enemy. So anything we say is immediately disregarded. And we're looked at as the enemy. And I don't know if you've heard about what's just happening in Atlanta, but I'm being told, because, they charged that guy with like 11 counts, including felony homicide or felony murder, which includes the death penalty. And I think we all know that shooting's pretty freaking justified. But I think over 2,000 Atlanta PD officers have walked off the job, like as we speak.
Yeah.
Today. I'm just getting that through back channels. And I'm hearing it from other people as well. So I don't know if that's made the news yet, but Atlanta PD officers are walking off the job. They're like, we're not going to work here. We're just leaving. So I don't know who's responding to calls out there right now, but they got an issue because of how they've responded to this. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe we all walk away. And I hate to say that. Look, I'm not able to retire. I can retire when I want to. I don't want to retire now because I want to build it up more. But I have options. If I want to retire right now, I can. And let me tell you something. I have seriously thought about it. Because I'm like, the only thing keeping me here is because, one, I'm in Texas, and two, I have a supportive department, and as far as I understand, a supportive city council and whatnot. They're very supportive of us. But the minute I get a whiff that we're not supported, I'm not – my livelihood, going to jail for doing my job, I'm not doing that. I'll do anything else. I'm not risking going to jail to deal with the world's trash that you don't want to deal with, and it doesn't go the way you think it should go. Yeah. Like, there's no way. And I don't think anybody should. So I don't know. Maybe it takes everybody walking off the job for them to get it. And then they get what they get. You get whoever's left.
I said as it is, man. I said as it is. I mean, we as an officer have been frustrated with the criminal justice system for a long time. I'm talking to my, personally. I've been frustrated with the criminal justice system because I cannot keep on arresting the same guy over and over and over and over again, but he's always let out of jail. Then we look at the criminal justice system like, how are you guys benefiting the officer? How are you guys helping us? But we the ones getting the blame every single time.
Yeah. We're the ones that get the blame, right? Yeah. We go out, we catch these guys, we send them to jail. And I get the benefit of looking at these cases after their dispositions, and it's amazing how little time anybody does, how much is dismissed that are legit cases.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And these guys are just let back out, and we got to deal with them again. And then this guy in Georgia who gets shot, been dealt with many times. In fact, he was let out, from what I understand, due to COVID. He was let out due to COVID-19, gets in this situation, fights two officers, takes a taser, disarms an officer, shoots it at the officer. Like, that happened because of the system is jacked up and broken and political.
Jacked up, yes.
And we know this. Yeah, as officers, we know system's jacked up because we deal with the same people all the time. You're dealing with the same offenders constantly. Like, it's funny how these guys' names. It's like, oh, there's so-and-so. And I see him again. Let's see when he been.
They know your name as well.
Today.
Yeah.
It's true. You know the offenders. And it's a small percentage of people, because the majority of people are abiding by the law. They're doing their thing. They're going home. They're not messing around. They're good people. You got a small percentage of society that's out committing crimes. And we see them over and over and over again. It's super frustrating.
It is frustrating. As a supervisor, educator, trainer, what is the message that you give to your guys before they hit the streets?
Well, one, just look out for each other. And now especially, times are weird. I've had officers telling me about people, stopping in the middle of their traffic stops, other people stopping by and trying to talk to the driver of the other vehicle and asking them if they're okay and stuff like that. So it's check by with each other. It's look out for each other. Just be extra cautious and continue to do your job, but just be cautious, guys. Like, I mean, they know what they're doing. My guys know what they're doing. They're good cops. They do a good job. I have zero issues with the guys that work under me. They do such a great job. So I don't even have to worry about anything on a regular basis. I never rarely get bad complaints or anything on anybody. So I'm not worried about that. All I worry about them is making sure they continue to take care of each other, look out for each other, and get back to the station and get home safely. So that's really my message. Get home safely, do your job, do it right, and look out for each other. Right now, that's pretty much what I'm telling them.
Nice. I appreciate that. So will mandatory jiu-jitsu training really change police for better?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think jiu-jitsu changed me for the better. The person I was before I started training to now, two different people. You know, I was overweight, not happy person. I was.
Stop lying. You never been overweight, man.
Oh, bro. I burnt all those pictures, but trust me, I was at my worst. I'm 5'7". I'm not a tall person. I'm 5'7". I would like to say what I am is a normal size human, unlike you guys, tall guys. But so I was like at 218 pounds when I started jiu-jitsu. And which wasn't normal for me. Most of my life I've been athletic and whatever, but I got married, had kids, and just, life happened. Just started eating pizza, not working out, and boom, next thing you know, you're 218 pounds. And I was like, oh crap, I got to do something. And I wanted to train jiu-jitsu anyway. So I started training jiu-jitsu and got myself focused back on working out. Like within 6 months, I lost 60 pounds or something like that.
Nice.
And I've been fine since then. But it made me better physically, healthier mentally, expands my horizon, expands my group of friends that I associate with. So I'm not just associating with police officers. I think it's one of the best things about jiu-jitsu is you get to know all segments of society. So you're not just, because we deal with some of the worst of society on a regular basis.
Yeah.
When we're working. So you get skewed, you get a little bit jaded in your view of people. But then when you're in a jiu-jitsu academy, you're around a lot of great people who do all kinds of different things in the world. And it's great because it reinforces, hey, people are good. Majority of people are good people, and these are who you're training with. And there's just a few scumbags out there that we have to deal with on a consistent basis. But that's a small segment of society. Most of society's good people, good-hearted people.
Of course. Talk a little bit about Invictus, law enforcement jiu-jitsu, this program that you guys have going on.
So Invictus started a little over a year and a half ago. It started in a chat group on Facebook with a bunch of officers who train jiu-jitsu. So, we were a subgroup of people police officers who train jiu-jitsu. That's a small subgroup. It's bigger now than it was then.
Yeah.
We just would talk about how people should train jiu-jitsu, exchange techniques, exchange, videos that we saw where someone used jiu-jitsu on the street or could have used jiu-jitsu on the street. And then we started talking. Ari and I started talking. Ari wanted to come visit in Houston, and I had made friends with Ari Zahn online, who's the other co-founder. And he was coming down, and he used to run Submissions 101. He's a Keith Owen black belt. He's kind of been around the martial arts jiu-jitsu world for a long time. So I was like, hey, you should do a seminar when you come down. And then that turned into, well, let's do a police seminar. And
nice.
Then that turned into let's do this thing called Invictus with BJJ Make It Mandatory. Another guy came up with the BJJ Make It Mandatory, let us use it to spread the word. And then we ended up having this, I thought it was going to be a one-time thing, one-time seminar in Houston, but it was it had such great feedback and such a positive impact on so many people. We had like almost 100 officers at the first seminar.
Nice.
That traveled from all over the country. And it was such a huge deal. Everybody wanted more seminars. So we just started, we'll start doing more seminars, keep pushing the message. And it's kind of taken on a life of its own. We had 2 seminars set up that we would have already had by now. We had one in Seattle and then one in Virginia that was set up for spring and summer, but we had to cancel because of COVID and all the stuff that's going on. But we're going to have to fire back up, and seminars are starting to happen again. So we're going to, pretty soon, we'll get another seminar going, and I'm not sure where it'll be yet, but we'll start probing around, see who wants to host one, and we'll get another seminar going and get officers meeting together, getting together, breaking bread together, choking each other, sharing some good stories, and sharing the same passion that you have, that I have, that Ari has, that a lot of officers around the country have right now. So
that's really cool, man.
people are saying how badly we need extra training, especially in things like grappling. So
Man, bad, really bad. I mean, and we have been preaching this for a long time. But you know, it gets to the point that you preach, and you just be like, well, you guys gonna find out on your own, you know.
yeah, it's happening. It's good.
Yeah.
Like it's happening. I really hope that the current mood in the country changes soon, because it's not good. It's not good for people on the street, because I think a lot of people are feeling a little more emboldened to resist and fight with cops.
Yeah.
And it's putting cops at a bad place as well, because now cops are having to respond differently to these situations and to protect themselves. And you see like what's happening in Atlanta, where an officer's getting charged for doing his job, basically. Man, now you're seeing officers just walk off the job and just leave the city without any protection, because it's not worth their life.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just not worth those officers' lives to risk everything just to get charged with murder by the city that you're protecting. Like, no, like just leave. Like, I'll do anything. And I'm sure they're thinking, hey, I'll go work someplace else or pick another career, but I'm not gonna let that happen to me, you know?
Yeah.
And their families.
It's really, you know, cool, I guess, when you're talking to other officers who have left the profession, and they telling you the level of stress has gone from 100 to like freaking 5, and you'll be like, you know, God, I mean, it's completely different. You know what I mean? They glow. You know what I mean? It's a different lifestyle. You know.
It's true. I've met like several officers that have left the profession. They're just teaching jiu-jitsu full time or doing something else, and they're in a better place, man. Like, there's some things that aren't as great. Like, you know, maybe you've lost your benefits, or now you got to, you know, things are a little bit different because of whatever you're doing. But the stress level as far as going to work every day and what it puts your families through is way down.
Way down.
Lower.
Having to deal with the administration, LT.
Oh. Yeah, it's fine. I'm on the other side. And it's
I know.
weird.
I know.
Even though I've been doing it for a little while now, but it's just I still don't. I feel like one of the guys still, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not. And one of my friends reminded me of that today. I was like, well, I thought this was going well. They go, well, that's what they tell you. But this is really what they're saying. They just don't want to tell you that. I'm like, but it's me. You can be honest with me. You don't have to tell me it's a fib. But no, you're like, no, not anymore. You're
on the dark side now. Yeah. That's cool, man. Is there anything else you want to share with us or with the people that are watching? I mean, will be watching.
Man, I tell you, just guys, just be safe, guys. And hey, we're not the bad guys. Like, I know the media is pushing out a lot of negative stuff about us. You got to remember, I don't want to get this number wrong, but we might have like 100 million contacts a year. You know, you have a country of 330 million people. You have over 800,000 active police officers working the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's millions upon millions of contacts. So you see 10 bad videos a year. That's less than like probably 0.1% of what we're dealing with. We only have a little over 1,000 shootings a year out of millions upon millions of contacts, which is pretty amazing if you think about it.
It is.
And overwhelming, like 99% of those shootings are justifiable shootings. You know, there's a small percentage where the officer was wrong, was criminal, or was just incompetent, right? But it's a small percentage. The majority of those are good shoots. So you're talking such a small percentage. And I want people just to have perspective on what you're hearing. Do the research on the numbers. If you do the research on the numbers, they all make sense. And then you'll realize that officers are doing good things on an overwhelming basis. And it's a very small minority of incidents where bad things are happening. And we hate it more than you guys. We hate it more than everybody else. Other than maybe the families that are affected, we hate it the next most because we're a family and we're affected. This crap that happened in Minnesota, look how much it's affected us.
Yeah.
So you know we hate it more than any of you guys. We hate officers who do stuff like that. I saw that video before it ever blew up. Like, I saw it pretty quick because I get sent a lot of videos. I immediately was like pissed. Like, what is this guy freaking doing? Like, what a fucking idiot. And I was so mad, not only at him, but all four of them. Because I was like, one person should have said something like, hey, stop fucking doing this. Like, get off the guy, let him sit up. But nobody said anything. And I'm so mad.
Yeah.
And I just wish other people would understand. You think you're mad because you heard somebody might have been affected by a bad police officer? Because that's what the majority of it is people that are like, oh, well, my friend got pulled over and they pulled him over because he was a minority, or they pulled him over for something stupid. And and then they'll say, well, he got a warning, but he clearly was racially motivated. And I'm like, has this happened to you? Do you have a direct experience? It's like, well, no, not really. So you're going off, I'm just frustrated.
I know.
I guess you can tell it's a very frustrating time.
It is for all of us. And you just talking about a research. What is that?
Well, like if you research the numbers on the
I'm
amount
just
of
passing with you. People don't do research nowadays.
Oh, sorry. You got me. You're right. People don't do research, right?
People don't do it. They just
hear it on the news.
Somebody else posted, they just gonna, share that. And you'll be like,
that's true.
Did you even read the law? Did you actually research this? No, people don't.
So this is what's crazy, right? So like I never post stuff on Facebook, but I was so frustrated. I posted my frustration with the Atlanta deal, the Atlanta shooting. And I had people hit me, oh, so you think it's okay to shoot people in the back? I'm like, there are times when it is justified to shoot someone in the back. And I'm not saying that that's a norm thing, but if someone's running away from you or pointing a weapon at you, yeah, you can shoot them in the back. If you think they're going to circle around and try to shoot you, yeah, you can shoot them in the back. If you think they're going to hurt somebody else with a weapon they just took or weapon they have on them, yeah, you can shoot them back. If I have an active shooter in the school that leaves a classroom and starts walking away from me, yeah, he's been committing homicide. I can shoot him in the back. Like, there's a lot of situations where this can happen, but people have no concept and no perspective to look at it. They just hear, shot him in the back. And the mindset is, oh, some guy's just standing there with his back to him and they shot him. It's like, that's not what happened at all.
The media.
But you couldn't get through. You couldn't get through to people like, say, hey, these things are super fluid. No one's just standing there like, okay, I'm going to shoot me. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Never happens like that. This is a fluid, fast-moving situation where people have to make decisions within less than a second. And considering, how many factors do you have to consider when pulling that trigger? You're considering your background. You're considering, is there a weapon pointed at me? You're considering, is he about to shoot at me? Or is he about to do something to me? And all this happens in less than a second, where your mind has to do that OODA loop and make a decision. And people have no concept of what it takes to make that decision.
We live in a very frustrating time, for myself especially, I'm black and I'm officer. So anything that I say, it comes right back. Oh, because of this, oh, because of that. I'm like, but I'm gonna speak up, you know what I mean? And that's the reason that I have these shows, so I can have like experts coming in and share, their knowledge with us, because people need to know. People need to know. And, I really appreciate you being here with me, Jay. You know what I mean? And, man, I hope to see you soon, man. I'm closer to you now. I'm not like 8 hours anymore.
Where you at now?
Man, I'm in Stephenville, Texas, man. Cowboy.
No kidding. Yeah, you are closer.
Cowboy capital. I'm 4 hours now.
You got to come train with us down here in Houston now.
Yes. Now I'm closer, man. But, everything just going crazy, man. When we think things are getting bad, something happens.
Isn't it crazy? Like, things were going pretty well.
Yeah.
We just got out of that last bad incident a few years ago where cops were getting shot in the street.
Yeah.
And then things were smoothing out. We were doing great. And then one asshole in Minnesota.
Boom.
And everything is, I've never seen it this bad. I'm assuming this maybe was what it was like in the 60s. I don't know. But I've never seen it, like the hate and contempt for us.
Man, so much hate, man. It's crazy. But, trying to focus on all of the ones that still love and still understand, that, one person does not, define all of us. No, one bad cop or one black guy doesn't define the whole black, race. One bad cop does not define the whole cop. We just got to talk to each other, man. One thing that has, we're missing right now in America, just be able to talk to people without agree to disagree. You know what I mean? Just talk to each other, respect each other's opinions, and just move forward.
Absolutely.
That's it. But Jay, thank you so much, man, and look
Good
forward to
stuff, man.
training with you in the future, man.
Absolutely. I can't wait. And thanks for having me on the show, bro. It's your podcast. It's awesome. I'm super honored. And I'm glad you're doing this, man. You're doing good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate you and have a good one. And Terry, I don't know who you are, but I appreciate you being here, Terry.
All right, brother. Later,
All
man.
right, man. You be good.
All right, you too, man.
Man, it's been a great time being able to talk to my boy Jay, man. It was great. I really appreciate him being here with us. Uh, America, man, it's okay for us to talk to each other. It's okay for us to share our opinions and still love each other and like each other. So let's just focus on that and understand that everybody has a different view, but we live in the same country. And love, man, we got to love each other. We got to love each other. And here we are. Thank you for being a part of this show. This is 10-8 in Service Podcast. Today I had my boy Jake, PJ Jacob, and of course I'm representing my boy Bruno right here, you know. And also Ultra, man, they have been great to me. Ultra, thank you for your support. Headquarters, show me 1042. Holla at you later. You know what time it is. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. I'm out. Audi. Cowboys.